Hello, and welcome to another brand new episode of Dingers and Stingers, the podcast that will try really hard not to burn their hand on the hot stove we are about to discuss. It's been a busy day for baseball transactions, maybe not quite as busy as we would have hoped, but we still have lots and lots to cover on this episode of our MLB show this week. So, we're going to talk about so much stuff. We're going to talk about WBC updates. We're going to talk about Hall of Fame voting. We're going to talk about all the signings and trades that have happened since the last time that we had a show, there are several of those. And so, before we get into all that, it's the best time of the year for, of the off season for baseball fans. A lot of people call it F5 season. There's, notifications being on for baseball beat writers. So, what do you guys like the most about this first week of the, winter meetings that we're currently in right now? What stands out to you about this time of year that just makes it so special?
Well, it's a double-edged sword because it is exciting, but at the same time, it's incredibly time-consuming and frustrating. And it's just that it's the winter meetings and the trade deadline at the end of July, the 2 days where I am on Twitter all day, just refreshing, refreshing. I should be doing other things. There's nothing really going on for most of the day, and yet I am glued to it because I can't miss a move, and I'm just waiting for them. And so, yeah, I'm probably less eventful overall than at this point last year, but there's still a couple days to go. I think, we could see some movement still.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly that, right? It's like it feels like there's all this hype, and it's typically even in a busy off season, it'll happen in like spurts. The other like 80% of the time is spent emptily swiping, on Twitter, being like, what schmuck like us is gonna tweet something about like, I heard a rumor from my friend that this is happening, and it's just like, cool. Like, love the rumors. Don't stop tweeting, but it is one of those things where I'm like, we've been waiting a minute, and then today we got a small flurry of signings, and it might be another minute till we see some more. Like we'll see. I have the privilege of being a Padres fan, meaning every rumor involves me. Um, there isn't a rumor alive right now that doesn't involve AJ Preller's name. So yeah, I at least get to feel like I'm a part of something, bigger than myself here.
Yeah, at the very least, we're hearing our favorite teams' names a lot.
And I love that.
Whether it means actual activity remains to be seen. But we're hearing Padres, we're hearing Red Sox, but nothing too big.
Today we heard Red Sox and Angels even, I
That's
think.
true. Yes.
We're hearing Angels a fair amount. Not in rumors per se, but in actual things getting done that are not very blockbuster. They'll be mostly forgotten by the time that spring training starts. And like when spring training starts and you see, Von Grissom out there for the Angels, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Um, but not to spoil one thing we might talk about, but yeah. So all of our teams, they're in there. But your guys' team's in a more exciting way, for sure. But Okay, so how we're gonna do this? Like I said, we've got a lot that has happened in the last, just the last couple of days, really, but in the last week for sure. So we've got a little tool that we're gonna use for our benefit here, and it's gonna sort of randomize what we talk about. It's gonna keep the conversation very, bouncing back and forth between things, and we're just gonna get to what we can get to. We have the wheel of topics here, so we've put together some of the big, players slash teams that are sort of involved in rumors or actual deals being done, and also some other newsworthy things that have happened in the world of baseball. And we're going to spin the wheel, and we're going to get through as many topics as we can. And so I think we are all set here. It looks good. So I'd say
Let's go. Let's give it a
let's
spin,
give it
huh?
a spin. Yeah, let's give it a spin and let's tarry no further. Um, I tried to pick one where it doesn't spin too long. There were some that spun for a long time, and I was like, well, we can't use
Oh,
those. All
Oh.
right.
oh. All right, I'll mute myself, guys. Have fun.
All right, so as fate would have it, the first topic is Vaughn Grissom. This, of course, referring to the trade made between the Red Sox and the Angels today. So I'm going to start with Drew here. Take us through the trade, who got who, and then we'll talk just a little bit about what the trade means for either both teams.
Yeah, this was, in the grand scheme of things, a fairly minor deal compared to what we are looking for excitement when it comes to the winter meetings. The Red Sox traded Von Grissom, and I'm scrolling to look up the name that we got back in return. It was a 1-for-1 deal. Von Grissom to the Angels for Isaiah Jackson, who is a minor league outfielder from the Angels system. And really, this was a situation where Von Grissom was the forgotten man by a long shot. I think he kind of got passed up 3 or 4 times, and just really didn't have a role for the major league team for the Red Sox this year. And he's still young, relatively. He's only 24. So it's possible all he needs is an opportunity, and I think the Angels can give him that. So I think that's what this was about. The Red Sox clearing up a little bit of the basement space, and it cleared a 40-man roster spot. So some people were speculating that that means another move is coming, whether that's in the Rule 5 draft tomorrow or in free agency, trades, whatever. But fairly minor move, but I think it could be impactful for whatever version we see the Angels this year.
Yeah, from the Angels side here, this is, uh, a situation that I think they've added somebody who they feel, third base and second base is kind of shallow a little bit for the Angels right now. When it comes to who's ready today to play those positions. Christian Moore will probably be the second baseman, going forward for the Angels, but third base is there for the taking at the moment. So it could be that they're trying to see if someone who previously had a high valuation, a high ceiling, can reach a portion of that, and if he can, then he might be better than bringing back Yohan Moncada or, it won't be Rendon, but, whoever else they might want to bring either in or move over to that spot. Rengifo is part of that group that could be impacted by the presence of Von Grissom. They want to put some pressure on the position of third base probably, and that's what they have done here. It's a little bit of light pressure, but it's pressure. So we'll see how it works out. But yeah, a very Angels type of move here, trying to improve as marginally as they can, and kind of goes with the rest of them that they've made so far.
Yeah, it's an off season of let's get the former prospect who has recently gone sour.
Yep.
That's kind of been their MO so far this offseason. So a lot of these guys are still young. There's upside to be found, but there's a reason it's a team like the Angels taking this risk and not, a big market kind of juggernaut type team.
Yeah, 100%. All right, spin that thing.
All right, Von Grissom again. Von Grissom again.
Where are we gonna go? Yeah, don't leave anybody on there. Yeah, good idea. Okay, big one. Here we are at Pete Alonso. Okay, so what I wanted to frame this discussion around is Pete Alonso is reported to be coming to the winter meetings in person to meet with teams, and that's kind of rare for a player, especially someone who's on a lot of people's top free agents or something like that lists. He's coming to make his case, and so my first question for you guys can kickstart the discussion is: do you think Pete is trying anything that he can to avoid a repeat of last year's sort of right up to the buzzer, free agent drama, and is this kind of a move toward that?
I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily like exactly like a trying to avoid last year's stuff. I think it's just at the end of the day, like it's kind of what comes with the territory and the market for the type of player he is. Like he's not this five tool great guy. Like he's elite at what he does, and that's pretty much it. It's a more valued thing, but we're seeing a lot of similarities with a guy probably like Luis Ariz, whose market is going to be really dry, I think, just because of the limited skill set. Despite how good he can be at that thing, obviously teams will see the 40, 50 home run type of power and be all about that. But there's still just something about the like I think being a first baseman who's pretty much just a hard hitter. Like that's kind of your whole thing is you hit really hard and you play first base. Um, so I think it's more so just maybe he wants to see what's out there and he thinks he can sell himself better in person. I don't know, but at the end of the day, like I just don't know if the market's going to be there for what he probably wants as a first baseman. I mean, everything I've ever read this offseason about, his potential for next year is teams just don't really want to commit very long to him. Like a lot of teams are not wanting to push past that 2 or 3 year deal with him. And maybe that's why he's going to meet with these teams is he's looking for something that is a little longer, a little more guarantees, maybe. I don't know. Well, not guarantees. Baseball guarantees their contracts, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so not guarantees, but like, maybe he's just looking for something different that's not being offered to him right now, and he thinks he can change their mind. Um, we'll see if gets it done. I mean, I don't really know how charismatic this guy is, so we'll see.
Yeah, the polar bear, I'm willing to bet he will be able to avoid what happened last year, which is he signed very late, back with the Mets on a much smaller deal than he was trying to get. But last year he was bogged down by having a qualifying offer attached to him, and he was coming off a worse season than what he just had for 2025. So yes, he's a year older, but I think overall he's a more attractive, potential player in your lineup right now. And I think there are more teams in the market this year than last. I remember last year it was like the Mets were kind of just playing the long game, and it was like the Blue Jays were maybe interested, but they already had Vlad, and then there wasn't really a ton of interest for him. Already this year, we know he came to the winter meetings. The two teams that they said for sure he met with were the Orioles and the Red Sox. Um, I'm sure there was more on that list than those two, but both teams that could really use some power, some thump in the middle of their lineup. Um, and so I think, I don't think Pete Alonso is going to have to settle to the same extent as last year. Now, is he going to get the 7 year deal that they kind of leaked out that he was looking for at the beginning of the offseason? I really doubt anyone's going to give him 7 years. Schwarber just got 5. He's a couple years older. He's he's better overall, but he also doesn't play the field. So like I don't know. I could see Pete getting like a 5 year deal as well, but I do think there will be enough teams vying for his services that something will get done much quicker than last year because we already know that the Orioles offered Kyle Schwarber the exact same contract that he ended up signing with the Phillies, and it makes sense he went back to the team where he knows and all that. But that shows to the rest of baseball that the Orioles are serious, and if they're looking for a power bat, then and you can't get Schwarber, Pete Alonso is the next best guy on the market. I guess maybe Eugenio Suarez, but um, kind of a different profile. But I think yeah, the Orioles could use him. The Red Sox could definitely use him. The Mets lost out on bringing back Edwin Diaz. Maybe they want to bring him back. I don't know. So I think it could pick up pretty quickly now that Schwarber has signed.
Yeah, that's gonna have an impact for sure. The Schwarber contract being done, that sets kind of the bar here for where Pete Alonso might fall below that and how far he wants to. But yeah, so we'll see what impact, if any, Pete Alonso showing up in person has on his chances here. But let us go ahead and move on to the next subject. So give that wheel a spin here.
Right.
What's
Need
it going
some
to
music with it.
be?
Yes, let's talk
Okay.
WBC.
Uh,
Yep.
all right on the line, but here it is, WBC roster news. I mean, we've gotten a flood of news in about who is in for their respective countries. So let's just go through some of the most exciting ones. Let's just start off with Team USA. So let us know, Drew. Let us know who committed and is in for Team USA as of today. The new folks, and then we'll talk about them for
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, we had four new additions today, and a ton, like you said, a ton of WBC news in general. I felt like that was all I was getting when I was updating Twitter was a new
Yeah.
player committing to their respective team. But for Team USA, it was all first thing in the morning. We got Gunnar Henderson, who we already have Bobby Witt, so I'm going to guess that Gunnar will play third for Team USA. We got Will Smith, so him and Cal Raleigh will split catching duties. I believe Matt had that on his dream roster. We got Bryce Terang, which wasn't necessarily on our radar, but a good glue guy, a good 9-hole hitter on a stacked roster who can play good defense at second. And then last we had Kyle Schwarber, who's going to DH. And it was funny, that was announced just a couple hours before he signed re-signed with the Phillies. And so it was like Kyle Schwarber will play for, and then it was like Team USA, and we're all waiting for news. But anyway, that's a lot of star power for Team USA, a lot of thump. So I think with today's announcements, we officially have like a full starting nine that we can roll out there. Obviously, we're gonna have to hear more from the pitching side of things. I think we only have Paul Skeens and Garrett Whitlock are the only two pitchers committed to this team. I can't remember, but definitely we'll need some more pitchers. But overall, matches 2023 in terms of how exciting this USA roster is.
Yeah, I just looked it up. I'm seeing Matthew Boyd as well on the pitching side. I've heard Byron Buxton said he wanted to play for the team. I could be wrong on that. Um, yeah, I mean, dude, it's exciting times. I mean, we all knew they were going to, but also, we saw Tatis and Machado commit. They're going to be playing for DR. And so it feels like there is a lot of the stars are finally saying, yeah, we're going to be there. We're going to be playing. Um, and that is the best news. Like that's what I love to see is it kind of gives us a glimpse of what MLB could look like in an alternate universe where some of these guys play for other teams, right? They're not all on the same teams, which I love. It's very exciting.
Yeah, a lot of those guys you mentioned Buxton. A lot the three guys that are kind of that age, Mike Trout, Buxton, and Bryce Harper, they've all said they would play if they were asked, but they haven't, ostensibly been asked yet. And so it'll be interesting to me to see if any one of those guys gets to come on and, ride with the team. It's obvious that I think I don't know that I feel like if they were wanting for them to start, they would have asked them already. And so it'll be interesting to see what role any one of them would play, but or how much they would play. But it'll be interesting to see if any of those guys gets a chance to take the ride, because yeah, ostensibly they're not going to be asked to be starters at least.
No.
But which is interesting because last time around, those were all guys who wanted to be
Well,
in.
we don't have a first baseman yet, do we?
Yeah, I just thought of that. Yeah, we don't. I don't think so.
To my
Harper
knowledge,
could.
we don't have a first baseman.
Mm,
That could be where he fits
so
in for sure if they want to put him in there.
yeah, I'd love to see it, but yeah, there's a lot of options there.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so some other teams. DR, I think next most exciting as far as names are concerned that we got today.
Mhm.
Junior Caminero is in. Geraldo Perdomo is in. Ellie De La Cruz is in for Dominican as of now. So I mean that team is just going to be so as they always are so fun to watch.
Yeah, Yeah, you add on top of that, all the guys that are probably going to be returning, being, you're going to get Julio out there, you're going to get Vladdy, you're going to have, again, Tatis, Manny, Rafael Devers potentially if he wants to play. Like, there's just so many dudes who play for this team. Um, I mean, this would have to be my betting favorite, to be honest. Like, I really feel like talent-wise, they are the best, right? Like, I maybe that's short-sighted because I'm just seeing the names, but like these guys are just stacked, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah, Team Dominican Republic is always like from a lineup perspective the most scary team coming into the tournament, and they haven't done like poorly, but they just haven't been as dominant as we might think. And I think a big reason why is they just don't have the starting pitching that like certainly like Japan has, or even like USA will have quality major league pitchers, even if it's not the best of our best. Whereas, a lot of the Dominican players just happen to be position players for whatever reason. So I did hear today that Brian Bayo is interested in joining Team Dominican. That would obviously help. But again, he's not like, we got Paul Skeens for Team USA. We got Roki Sasaki and, probably a few others going to go for Japan. Like, you kind of got to get a guy, even with the pitching limits. But yeah, Team Dominican, that's who I'm going to be rooting for all the way. I mean, I'm curious how they're going to make that lineup up.
Well, dude, I'm reading right now on the MLB website the names that have been asked to be in it, not confirmed, but asked on this starting rotation for DR. Sandy Alcantara, Freddie Peralta, Christopher Sanchez, Framber Valdez, Luis Castillo are just among the few names that have been asked. And then a bullpen with Carlos Estevez, Joan Duran, Brian Abreu, Abner Uribe, Camilo Duvall. Like it's if they say yes, I mean that is a pretty stacked pitching staff too. Like
For
it's
sure.
it's not too shabby. It's just a matter, I guess, of if they say yes or if there's other teams they would be wanting to play for.
Well, it's
Um,
the pitchers always are the most hesitant to join up because
yeah,
inherently
the
it's a
injury risk
riskier,
is
yeah. Which is why Garrett Crochet won't be doing it this year. He already said, and Max Fried, I believe, was asked to join Team USA as well, and declined. And the reason is totally understandable, and it happens all the time. But like, it's a bummer. I would have liked to see Crochet out there because he's a pig, but we'll see. We still got plenty of options for USA.
yeah.
Yep, plenty of options for sure. And I mean, if Dominican wants to, try and beat, Japan this year, coming in probably, the champion from last time, they are going to need some pitching, no doubt. And so
Yeah.
let's try to give them some. And if I'm Albert Pujols, who I think is still going to manage for them, maybe,
Hmm.
Mhm.
I am. I'm selling. I'm trying to pitch hard because you don't have to pitch the position players too much, but you got to pitch on some of these pitchers. You have to kind of make the case here, and I would be hopeful to get at least one because if you can get one of the guys who is starting caliber, ace caliber, then you've got a shot for sure. Um, okay, let's see what else. Team Mexico, Jaron Duran. Randy Rosarena committed for Team Mexico. That's pretty exciting. Randy had an incredible WBC last time around. Hope he's going to try to go do that again. Maybe he can, use it as an opportunity to, rediscover some star potential, some real good stuff. But interested to hear from a Red Sox perspective, Jaron Duran, coming out to play for Team Mexico. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm totally happy about it. I'm not one of those fans who's like, "Oh, please don't play. You're gonna get hurt." Like, you can get hurt in spring training, you can get hurt in the WBC, you can get hurt in, a Tuesday game in April. Like, I get it. I understand it doesn't count for your team, so there's that level of selfishness to it. But I love the WBC separate from MLB. Like, I love it as its own tournament, and I want the best players out there, regardless of what team they're on in the major leagues. So I'm happy to see him out there. He did play for them in 2023, but he was like a bench player. He was not a known entity at that point, really. But 2023 was his breakout, and a lot of people kind of credited the experience of playing on Team Mexico as like, because Jaron Duran has famously had his struggles with mental health and all that, and he points to that as like, oh, this is like fun. It's fun to play baseball. We can be out here and having a blast doing it. And now he's taken a few years to prove himself as one of the better players in baseball. So he should be, I would imagine he'll be their starting center fielder with Randy in one of the corners. And Mexico made a deep run last time. They came as close to beating Japan as anyone did. So
That was awesome.
I'm excited to see what they can do.
Yep, totally. And then maybe last one, we don't have to talk about, Roki Sasaki's in for Japan. We all know he's great. That Japan team's going to be a force. But there's always one guy that's like commits to a team, and you're like, wait, he can commit to that team. And I think this year, I think for me, it's Aroldis Chapman is in on the WBC for Great Britain. And so I'm always there's always one guy. So what do we make of this? Drew and I watched Great Britain play last year in person in Arizona, and they did not put forth an inspiring effort against Team USA, but maybe Chapman trying to, turn the tide over there a little bit.
Yeah, I would not have guessed he had eligibility there either. They're pretty loose with it when it comes to the WBC. It's not like, I think the Olympics, it's a little more strict. But he's from Cuba, famously, but I guess the way he defected, spent time in Jamaica, and Jamaica being a British island, he gets British eligibility. So that's fun. Jazz Chisholm was supposed to play for Great Britain last time because he's from the Bahamas, and I remember that was the big like, oh yeah, I guess that's where he would play. And then he didn't for whatever reason. But I'm curious if he'll be back. Trace Thompson was like the Great Britain star, and Harry Ford,
Yes.
who is also on our wheel, I believe. So like, I don't know. I don't, it depends on the group stages and who's in what group, but I don't know. Maybe Great Britain will make some noise. I don't know. It's baseball. Anything can happen. I doubt it.
Well, if they have a lead, they'll do pretty good, apparently.
Yeah, if they have a lead in the ninth inning, I like their chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to like a little side comment you made is that we got to go a few years ago and see a game because it was in Arizona. And in 2017, there was games in San Diego, there was games in LA, and this time the only place in the U.S. that has games is Miami, and so that's a big time bummer because we're not going to make a trip out there, but bring it back
Hey,
next time.
unless someone out there wants to pay for tickets for us to go.
Yeah,
Hey,
we're open.
we
to
won't say no. We won't say no. Shout out on the pod.
Somebody send us
yeah,
to Miami for the WBC. Yeah.
We're open to that. We'll say that, but yeah, let's bring some games back to the West Coast.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on. It's the time of year too. Like it always made sense to me to have them on the West Coast because of, what time of year it takes place. It's still it can still be a little volatile in some of those East Coast places, but you've got Miami down there. Not only is the weather there fine in the winter, but there's coverage, shall we say, in some of those stadiums. So that helps their case too. But it going in Petco the 2017, or that was just, that was a wonderful experience. It was a great experience. So outdoor WBC rules, and it can really only happen over here. So bring it on back. Okay. Anything else on WBC that you wanted to talk about? Or we can move on to the next topic.
I think we can move on.
Let me get
All right, let's do it.
my wheel back up.
Nice.
And
The topics are
there we
narrowing.
go.
Last comment on WBC. Let me say, you mentioning Trace Thompson is crazy. Like the fact that Clay Thompson's brother was like the star of a team.
He was.
He spent the year this past year. He was in Red Sox AAA all year.
Wow. All right.
Sweet,
Good
sweet.
for him, man. Um, okay, so we're gonna continue farting around a little bit because the wheel landed on Zach Gallen. And as we all know, there wasn't an official deal on Zach Gallen, but something did happen where we thought there might be. So Matt, kind of summarize the why Zach Gallen is on this wheel here for us.
This was equivalent to like a knockoff brand version of the Arson Judge signing. I mean, we got some people really confidently claiming, Zach Allen, I believe it was the Cubs, they're like, he has signed with the Cubs. Here is the deal. He is in, and, here we go. And like moments later, it was like, well, no, actually, he didn't do that. He didn't sign with them. We don't know if there's a deal on the table for him. It's just one of those weird, like, cool, man. Someone leaked something, if you want to get conspiracy theory with it, it's like, oh, maybe Zach Gallen's team like leaked something to like create some leverage. I don't know, man. He's one of those interesting cases, we've talked about. Like he has the credentials, the pedigree, he has all the things, but the past 2 years have been really tough for him. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see what his market even looks like when it all, kind of shakes out. Um, but at the end of the day, I mean, we just saw some classic off-season tomfoolery, which I can always appreciate. I think that's funny.
Yeah, it was actually president of the Baseball Writers Association, Bob Nightingale, who broke. He tweeted out that Zach Gallen had signed, and he even had like the money and the years. He said
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
he was like pretty exact on it.
he said like 5 years, some 100 million, whatever, with the Cubs, and he is kind of at this point like the meme joke baseball reporter that people know not to take very seriously. They call him Boob Nightingale. It's he's had a number of these. At the same time, his batting average is pretty high. Like if he reports that someone signed somewhere, you usually can take that at face value. But Jeff Passan had to get online and say, I don't have Bob Nightingale tweets notifications on. I do have Jeff Passan, so I got a tweet notification. Jeff Passan, Zach Gallen has not signed with the Cubs or with anyone. Like that, he said something about it, and it's like, okay, well, I guess the Twitter machine went a little crazy this morning. I didn't expect it to be from an actual, Baseball Writers Association credentialed writer, but um, and then he rephrased it something like the Cubs are hoping to sign him for this this contract.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he got some kind of detail that he wasn't. I don't think like I don't ever hear about exact contract terms before someone signed. Like that's it's like you might hear like, oh, like the Mets want Pete Alonso but won't go beyond 3 years, but you won't hear the Mets have an offer for 3 years, $80 million on the, you don't hear that kind of stuff. So he hit send when he probably shouldn't have. I am curious what the Cubs do this offseason, and I'm curious where Zach Gallen ends up, to the point where it kind of makes sense to me if they match up. Cubs need pitching. Um, they missed out on Dylan Cease. I don't know if they even tried. And yeah, there's a couple of like bigger names out there, but the Cubs haven't shown a willingness to spend to that level. And Zach Gallen could be, a little bit cheaper given the down years he's just had, and he still has upside. So could be a match made in heaven, and we can all be saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Bob Nightingale. You were correct. Exactly. You were just a little early."
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So, happens to the best of them. Gave it a, he got up and he kept doing it, even after he fell on his face. So good for him. But yeah, no deal for Zach Gallen yet, despite what reports might have told us. All right, let's get that wheel back up and let's get another topic in. We are rolling.
Okay, let me.
We are rolling.
Okay, forgive me. I accidentally didn't remove Zach Gallen, and then it tried to, and it spun again. So if it ends up on him, we'll just keep moving.
Okay, so the odds are good. Okay, here we go. All right, that's pretty
Harry
squarely
Ford.
Harry Ford. All right, so we
Yeah.
mentioned
Yep.
him a little bit earlier. Harry Ford, Great Britain WBC star from a few years ago. He got traded over the weekend, so he was traded. The Mariners traded him. He was kind of their catcher that was stuck behind Cal Raleigh, the number 42 overall prospect in the majors. They traded him and Isaac Lyon for the left-handed pitcher Jose A. Ferrer. So my question is, what happened here? Let's break this down because there was quite a reaction to this one, and I want to know why. So let's start with Drew. What kind of happened here? How did the Mariners come to this? Do you think?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because Jose Ferrer, apologies. I was not familiar with your game. I didn't watch too many Nationals games this year, particularly once they were already like way out of things. Um, but yeah, it looks like this is a solid pitcher that the Mariners got. He's got really elite fastball velocity. He doesn't walk guys. He avoids barrels. He gets a lot of ground balls. That's kind of his calling card. He's like 99th percentile ground ball rate. Um, but even then, and he's 25. I don't know exactly how many years of control he has, but multiple. Um, the surprising thing was to see a prospect this notable moved for a relief pitcher that I hadn't really heard of. Um, because like for me to have heard of a prospect, they must have done some notable things because I'm not like all up in those lists. And for it to be a relief pitcher, you usually would think you know this like one of the elite relief pitchers if you're getting a top 100 prospect plus more. So that was my initial confusion. I was like, what are the Mariners doing? But then, thinking about it, Harry Ford doesn't have a job on the Mariners because they have the best catcher in baseball on a nice team-friendly contract, coming off maybe the greatest catcher season ever. And so, they don't really have a place for him. And also, catching prospects are kind of tricky business. I mean, Matt, you would know with Ethan Salas right now, like a couple of years ago, he was what a top 20 prospect in baseball, and now he's not even really on those lists. Things can happen really quickly with catchers, and it's hard to be like a star catcher. It's very rare when that happens. We've seen the Dodgers pump out like five catchers after Will Smith, and none of them have ended up being much of anything. So like I don't know, like this could just be something I'm making up, and I don't have actual data behind me, but it just feels like the type of thing where if you have a top catching prospect, sell high on that guy because you don't know what he's going to turn into, and more so than even a typical prospect, and especially if it's not like their main tool is that they're such an elite hitter. But I do think the Nationals getting Harry Ford, this is a good move for their organization, their new direction. They have a whole new management team over there. I'm not sure. I don't know much about this other guy they got, but I think it's one of those win-win moves where the Mariners are filling a need for a team with World Series aspirations, and the Nationals are filling a need for more long-term goals.
Yeah, 100%. And especially like again, I don't know Harry Ford super well. I'm like you. I'm not up in the prospects every year. I'm not watching minor league baseball games that often, if at all. I might see some highlights on Twitter or on TikTok or something. But like you're saying, I think it's hard to when it comes to catching prospects who make a name offensively. I think it's just a lot harder to translate the bat to the major leagues than it is your defense. And so, that's where, you brought up Ethan Salas for the Padres, and it's like he at least like his calling card was defense. And I think that will still translate. He's an athletic dude with defense. With Harry Ford, you just never know. And he's had very limited time up at the big leagues. And granted, you don't want to take his 8 plate appearances and make a prediction on his career, but it's also, his 8 plate appearances didn't really go all that great. And so it's interesting trying to think forward, but at the end of the day, it's like you said, the Mariners needed bullpen. At the end of the day, their bullpen ran out of gas. It really let them down in the playoffs. And they were taxed. I mean, they were one of the teams that took the Blue Jays into the middle of the night with that game they had, and their bullpen just was absolutely gassed. And so they get to bring in another bullpen arm. They lost, was it Thornton to the Achilles or whatever it was, and you don't know how long that's going to take for a pitcher to come back from. Um, and yeah, like you said, I saw a thing breaking down Jose Ferrer and his like numbers, and they're like by like every single category is like, how he would have ranked in the Mariners bullpen last year, and he would have been like second or third in like every major pitching stat and category. And so it's like, okay, maybe this guy was like legit. Because my initial reaction to this was like, what are they doing? Like, what are the Mariners doing? Like, I feel like they got fleeced. But the more you kind of sit with it, the more you see, the actual like players and like what they did and like him at the big league level means more than what Harry Ford has done in the minor league level. And yeah, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, I think this was, like you said, a good move for both teams. Um, especially if God forbid, Nationals, if you guys are really selling off everyone again, because there's rumors about Mackenzie Gore, CJ Abrams, all those guys that you got from us in the Juan Soto trade, you guys fleeced us. Uh, well, if you guys are trading them now too, maybe it is best if you've got a guy who performed in the past year or two, sell him, restock the farm, and just be patient with it, I guess, because yeah, you're not going to compete if you're selling half your decent prospects and not letting guys really develop at the big leagues either. Like it's not a recipe for success. You got to be going one way or the other, I think.
Yeah. Well, best of luck to Harry Ford. Best of luck to Jose Ferrer, and hopefully this trade can work out evenly for both teams.
And
And Isaac Lyon as well. Let's not forget. We want that player we want all the players involved to be successful in their new homes. I am going to pull rank on the wheel here. We are going to talk about Kyle Schwarber next because he is the biggest free agent signing, one of the biggest free agent signings so far. And this is the guy that a lot of the teams were waiting on to sign so that they knew what position players and people who are kind of like him, what they're going to be fetching this offseason in terms of length of contract and money. So let's break down the Kyle Schwarber signing that took place this morning. Drew, give us the details and then your initial thoughts on, how it worked out for him in Philadelphia.
Yeah, Kyle Schwarber signed back with the Phillies 5 years, $150 million. That's 30 million AAV, which I guess is the record for a full-time DH. People care about these things more than I do. But, it's a big name off the board. It's a big bat off the board that was going to be heavily sought after. But in the end, this is kind of the result most people expected. There was some noise about other teams. We got a list of some teams that gave out offers and what their offers were. Like I mentioned, the Orioles matched the Phillies offer exactly, which is more, eye-opening about the Orioles. The Pirates didn't really come that close, and then the Reds also kind of hopped in there to try to do a hometown pitch for Kyle Schwarber. In the end, he goes back to Philly, and he goes back to Philly for about as much money as you could give Kyle Schwarber without it being like kind of scary big. I don't think this is a bad deal. I think one more year or another, couple million per year, and you're getting into that territory of like Kyle Schwarber's making how much, but The Phillies are interesting right now because they've been one of the more successful teams over the last couple of years. Kyle Schwarber has been a huge part of that, but they haven't gotten over the hump to win the World Series, and in fact are kind of getting like further and further away with each year in their, where they actually end up finishing. And so there was some, there's still people pondering like, what are they just going to run it back again, or are they going to try to, plug some new guys in here? Well, so far they're staying the course because Kyle Schwarber has been on this team for the past couple of years. But I think if there's like one guy to keep around, Kyle Schwarber's the guy for them. So it's a great fit. We already know it made sense for both teams, and hopefully the rest of the market moves after this because I think there's Kyle Tucker. He's kind of in his own boat, and then Kyle Schwarber was really the big power bat, and now maybe the other kind of one-dimensional power type hitters can start to fall off the board. But yeah, I think good deal all around.
Awesome.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, look, I won't jump the gun too far. The pod is 2 for 2, right? On our free agent predictions. So we are batting 1,000 so far. Not too shabby if you ask
Did
me.
we predict Cease though? Did we predict him somewhere? Because I don't think I said Blue Jays for him. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I probably said it at some point. You guys can fact check me. Go watch all the videos we have on our channel at length. You can find out. But I think we're 2 for 2.
Yeah. Yeah, like we definitely picked the Schwarber one, and then another one that we can just go ahead and talk about now. I'm pulling rank on the wheel because we're getting close to where we want to land this plane here, and we didn't hit the two biggest ones yet. We're going to talk next about Edwin Diaz. He signed a contract today. We had the Mets sign. Why can't I remember his
Devin
name?
Williams.
Devin Williams last week, and we were wondering what that would mean. Well, it means now we know that they lost Edwin Diaz. Edwin Diaz did go, of course, to the Dodgers, a team that never ceases to add a big player in a free agency season. Matt, why don't you take us through the details of the Edwin Diaz Dodgers contract, and then we'll talk a little bit about what it means for the Dodgers to add someone like this.
Yeah, I got one word for you, and it's a word that, according to Drew earlier today, he's sick of hearing, and it's deferments. Uh, that was the first thing I saw about this deal on Twitter. I was a little late to hearing the news, but the first thing I saw was a tweet from Underdog, and it was like, the Dodgers have deferred Edwin Diaz's contract. It ended up being like 4.5 million a year to bring him down to like 20 something. Not that big of a deal, but yeah, I mean, it's what a lot of us predicted would happen. The Dodgers absolutely needed a closer. Last year their closing situation was terrible. It was a starter who was a closer, and they went out and bought this year's top closer. There's not a lot of like complexity to the idea or how this came to be. This was no great shock. It's one of those moves, and it's the one that makes perfect sense. I mean, if you are a Dodgers fan or just a guy who loves good fits for baseball teams, this is one of them. Like it just made all the sense in the world. I don't know if his brother Alexis Diaz is still on the team, but he literally is he not on the team anymore?
No, I think he's still bouncing around, just fall off
Because
completely a bit.
I thought I remember them either signing him or trading for him last year, but
Yeah, that
either
happened
way,
last year.
yeah. So either way, this was just a move that made a lot of sense. I feel like I don't have a ton to say on it. It we all thought it was going to happen, and here we are now.
Yeah, I think this was not surprising, but with like who he ended up with. But there were a couple parts of it that kind of surprised me. First of all, he got a 3-year, what was it, $69 million deal. So it was like 23 a year, which is the record for a relief pitcher. But I was surprised because that's all it took. I know that's, it's the record, but it's only a 3-year deal. He's the best closer on the market. He's going to be 32 next year. Still has elite stuff. Obviously, the Dodgers would want him. It didn't seem like too many other teams were really in the mix. We found out the Mets' final offer was for 3 years, like 66 or something. It was like 1 million less per year, which really makes me think that Edwin Diaz didn't want to be back on the Mets, because I think either he could have been like, okay, that's close enough, or he could have been like, hey, the Dodgers are offering me this. Will you not go a little bit higher? And I think the Mets would have. Um, so, yeah, that just speaks to, I think, the culture and vibe and everything. And let's face it, coming off of last year's Mets teams, and then the Dodgers want you, it's like, yeah, maybe you'd want to go to the Dodgers. So I'm not like broken up about this, because the Dodgers have reached a point in my head where they're just like so much better than everyone else in my head that it's like it almost doesn't matter what else they add. It's equally likely to beat them. So
Yeah, yeah,
we'll see what else they do if they're able to get a Kyle Tucker or something like that. I don't know, but it does make sense for the Dodgers. They kind of fill up one of their weak spots. And um, what was interesting was, we talked last week about the Mets signing Devin Williams, and then being, definitely in our opinion out on Edwin Diaz. And the reaction I was seeing today after Edwin Diaz signed from Mets fans was real disappointment. Like, they kind of expected him to be back. And so I think our conversation, though it ended up being right, I think we were a bit wrong. I think the Mets really could have brought him back and added him to that bullpen. But in the end, it didn't happen, and Dodgers really don't have to do much else from here. They obviously can, and they probably will, but they don't have to. And then the Mets have a ton of work to do still. So I'm interested to see kind of where both teams go from here.
yeah. Two National League, kind of powers in different ways. Last year down year for the Mets, but still a roster that does have potential. So hopefully the Mets can make up some of the ground here that they've lost in the offseason. Okay, let's give the wheel one more spin and see if we can get one more fun topic in here. I think we've covered those bases I wanted to cover, so we can trust the wheel. We might have to spin it a couple times because we burned a couple topics without deleting them from it, but um,
Yeah,
let's see what we get
we'll,
here.
we'll figure this out.
Yeah, spin it a couple times. All
All
right,
right.
spin it
There we
again.
go.
Don't worry. I'll get him out of here.
What are the we? Okay, yeah. There you go. I was like, dang, what are the odds are so low that we hit something we haven't already talked about actually.
Oh,
Okay,
All right.
so this will probably be the last topic we hit for today, which is a fun one here. So we landed on Ketel Marte. So Ketel Marte is on here because he is involved in some trade rumors. So let's talk about who we've heard is in on seeing if Ketel Marte will be available, and sort of where he might fit best among the group that we've heard mentioned for him. Let's start with the Red Sox. We've heard the Red Sox are in, so what do you think about that, Red Sox guy?
Yeah, the Red Sox are. There's been some real smoke behind this, based on like the people I follow, and have come to trust, compared to the regular rumors. Like, there's a ton of trade rumors out there. There always is. This one had some rumblings, like the Red Sox side of things. They are discussing it. Whether that ends up, that they meet the price, we'll see. But it's interesting. Ketel Marte, he is the best second baseman in baseball. He is under a team-friendly contract for the next 5 years, I believe. He's only 32. So, it's not going to age perfectly, but compared to what you would have to pay on the free agent market for someone like Bo Bichette or Alex Bregman, he comes at a good rate. So you're just like, well, why would the Diamondbacks trade him? The Diamondbacks have been pretty solid the last couple of years, even if disappointing. Um, the Diamondbacks need pitching desperately. They have Jordan Lawler as like their kind of like top prospect guy who's ready to come up and can play second base if need to because Perdomo is a shortstop. Um, and there was some clubhouse stuff with Ketel Marte last year where maybe his time with the Diamondbacks has come to a close. And as a fan of a team that might acquire him, that is my biggest concern regarding him. Like, is this a clubhouse cancer? We've seen teammates publicly have his back. We've also seen the Red Sox deal with their own clubhouse issues. I don't know. Like, I feel like any team that trades for him will have had to do their due diligence. We'll see what happens there. But in terms of a baseball move, I would love to see it happen. I mean, he is a great player. Like I said, the best second baseman in baseball. He can hit for home run. He can hit for power. He can slot into, the Red Sox lineup. He could realistically hit any of the first four places in the lineup, I would say. And he's affordable, which means if you trade for him, yeah, you have to give up assets, but you could probably find the funds to also sign a big free agent bat, whether that's Bregman or Alonso, um, someone of that ilk. Um, it'd be an interesting move. I think we'd probably have to give up at least one of Peyton Tolley and Connolly Early, these two pitching prospects who both came up last year. Tolley is the better prospect. Early did better in his small major league sample size so far, so pick your poison. And there's been rumored that Marcelo Meyer is part of the asking price, so that's where you get hesitant because outside of Marcelo Meyer, there's not really a future of the infield for the Red Sox. You can play patchwork and sign guys here and there, but that's where it gets a little tricky. But I think I would do it because it's time to take a big swing. I would trade one of those pitchers and Marcelo Meyer and, throw in another prospect or whatever. Because Ketel Marte, to me, is that special of a hitter. But plenty of teams should be interested. But the Red Sox, in my opinion, have as good of a package they can put together as anyone. I could see Seattle getting involved. It's ironic. He was once a Mariner very early in his career. But they have young pitching. If they're willing to part with that, that could be what the Diamondbacks want. Red Sox have young pitching, but it's a luxury few teams have enough of to be willing to part with.
Yeah, dude, 100%. And what I'll say is get him out of the NL West, please. I would love to not see him, so many times every year. But yeah, I think he makes perfect sense for the Red Sox or for a team like the Red Sox in their position because I think the thing that baseball gets so hung up on is protecting their future that not enough teams take swings for now. Like at the end of the day, would you not sell every prospect in your farm to win a World Series? I, I would. If you guaranteed me, hey, every single prospect you have, no more minor league games this year. You win the World Series though. Yeah, great. We'll start over next year.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I'm like, yep, I'll do it. Great,
Yeah.
sounds good. And not saying Ketel Marte is instantly a World Series. It's just when you have a team that was as good as the Red Sox were, but felt like they were just like missing that thing that would put that over the hump. Like that bat is a guy who can put you over the hump. He was forced to kind of be the guy next to like Corbin Carroll and this year weirdly, but is it Geraldo Perdomo? But like in Boston, I don't think you'd have to necessarily be that guy. He could just be one of a plethora of guys. And having the depth in that lineup just makes you guys so much more dangerous. And we don't know what's going to come back with Tristan Costas, but like there's just a chance that you guys are really, really deep. And adding a bat like him to the middle of that lineup would just be insane.
Yeah, well, I've been a fan of Ketel Marte, as a lot of people have been, for a long time. So, getting him into a situation where, he has some guys around him, kind of, like he kind of used to have in Arizona, or, still could have, just
Mhm.
depending on how many of their pieces go. But, um, getting him on a team where he has people around him, and the lineup can be, supporting him, and he won't have to carry it, would be, really great situation for him. So hopefully, if it's what he wants, he can be traded. We'll, wait with bated breath on that. I too am stalling just another second because there hasn't been any breaking news since we started recording, which was kind of a bummer. But I think we're going to go the rest of the way without one. So no big deal. We covered a lot on today's show. It was awesome. Shout out to some things that were left on the table here. How fitting that Jeff Kent, that subject did not come up. Maybe whatever the contemporary ballot version of this podcast is, we'll talk about you. On your second go around. But yeah, we covered a lot. Anything else you guys wanted to bring up before we take off?
I opened my Twitter just in case. You never know. And
Yeah.
the first post is this guy who's like super tight end with San Diego Padres, and he knows quite a few of the players and stuff. Shout out Divine Sports Gospel. But the first thing I see, I don't know if you can really see that, it's just says hearing things and the gif of Aaron Judge. There's been so many rumors about the Yankees and Padres, and the Yankees wanting Fernando Tatis more than anything, and Preller getting ready to make a trade even bigger than our trade to the Yankees for Juan Soto. So I'm ready to. I was going to say something that would probably hurt our podcast, so I'm not going to say it. But I'm ready to feel my pain. I'm ready to be in my feelings. So
Hey,
Look,
Tatis for
look.
Aaron Judge. I don't know. I don't know.
you know what? You know
Yes.
what? Honestly,
If you, this is a warning for all
it could
baseball
happen.
fans. If
Knowing
you
knowing the Padres, knowing sorry, you go.
this is a warning for all baseball fans. If you decide that you want to, you know, get emotionally invested when you see one thing about something during this time of year, go ahead. Go ahead.
And unfortunately, I am one of those people because knowing the Padres, we're about to get Trent Grisham and a package of prospects.
Trent Grissom can't even be traded yet because he signed his qualifying offer.
Pod
You have to
Preller
be
can make it happen.
He'll find a
make
way.
him the player to be named
Preller will
later.
take a written guarantee.
There's no quicker way to not quicker, but there's no more surefire way to end up on the Yankees someday than to be my favorite player. Um,
Right.
that's just like
So
how it goes.
true.
Shout
So
out
true.
Giancarlo Stanton.
Oh,
um,
So true.
I'm
Pain,
gonna
pain.
cry, dude. If they if they trade Tatis, I'm gonna actually be so upset.
It'd be tough. But we'll be here if it happens. So tune in next week to see if that happened. Because if that's going to take place, it'll take place shortly. All right, so that'll do it for this week's MLB show. Appreciate all the love and support. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, share us around. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on TikTok, I believe, at this stage of this point in time. And if you
Mm-hmm.
are an audio only preference person, you can listen to us on Spotify. So, take a listen there if that's what you'd like to do. Hit all the good buttons on all the websites. That'd be great. We'd appreciate that. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on all the stuff we talked about and some of the stuff we even left on the table. We appreciate everyone for listening. Thanks for hanging out. All right. Until next week, we'll see you then. Thank you. Goodbye.